I worked in there. Jobs are something that a lot of people have and a lot of people hate. Ask almost anyone you know what they think about their job, and there's a large chance that they'll answer with, yeah, I hate my job. The hours are long and it sucks, but I do it for the money. No, that's not Xanax in my bag. Why do you ask? Before I worked where I do now in the film industry, I worked in a grocery store. And before that, I worked in a catering hall. In other words, f my life. As a teenager, working in a job is an important part of growing up. It teaches you about responsibility, money management, and, more than anything, how completely horrible your coworkers are as people. Summer 2017. I think. I originally found a job offering to work at a catering hall because its location was on the to some in town that I would bike to a lot. There would always be crazy hot cars parked in the parking lot, so I would think to myself, wow, this place must make a lot of money. That means I'll make a lot of money. Fast track a bit later, I went in, had an interview, and they hired me on the spot, which, by the way, should have stood out as a major red flag. Regardless, immediately after, I officially had the job. Time skip ahead some more and I'm in the swing of things. A normal day pretty much go like this. 3 p.m. I'm at home putting on my suit. Yes, we had to wear full suits for a minimum wage job, and yes, the suit that I wore in the beginning of my used car market video was actually my work uniform. It didn't fit well because I got all my suits from the thrift store, but I'll come back to that later. By 4 p.m., I clock in and get to work setting up the entire dining room that usually seats over 300 people. The dishes were never clean because the dishwashers were in the backyard. Snorting coke. Because of that, we had to do all the cleaning ourselves. Around 5 or 6 p.m., the party began in a smaller room, and we got to work kissing as much ass as physically possible because if you didn't, management was always seconds away from cursing your entire family bloodline with some Skyrim-level witchcraft. Now, combine the fact that the small room was filled with 300 or so people, as said before, and I had to stand in there wearing my gigantic suit looking like Boo Boo the f***ing fool. You could already imagine how hot it was in there for me, but what made it worse was the fact that management refused to ever put on air conditioning because it cost too much to run. More on that later as well. Now, I go from being uncomfortably hot to want to see a cool magic trick? Fun fact, a woman who used to work there, who I'm not going to name for her safety, had actually passed out from the heat once, hit her head, and had to go to the hospital. Management then decided to dock her pay for the hours she was at the hospital instead of at work. I can't believe I'm not making this up. Back on schedule. Party's going good, hours are passing by, and we're doing our best to make sure patrons are happy. By now, dinner's been served to our wonderful guests who usually make insane requests to be done to their food after it's been prepared. There was usually zero communication between the waitstaff in the kitchen because every time we tried, we would get screamed at, like any normal functioning business should work. Which, now that I think about it, we weren't even fed. We either had to eat the remains of cold food in trays, or on the days that none was presented to us, we would all have to huddle in the back and eat the remains of people's table scraps like we were the mice living in the walls. And get this, the room that we ate in tested positive for asbestos, and nothing was done about it, because fuck us, I guess. You'll quickly start to realize that this is like a Jenga tower of health and safety violations that absolutely should not be happening. Anyway, the guests dance to music, they cut wedding cakes on marriages that won't last, they do more dancing, and they eventually clear out over time. By this point, it's around midnight to 1 a.m. The rest of the night is spent cleaning up and wondering where it all went wrong while putting laundry in the washing machines of the basement that would routinely flood from the sewage pipes until 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. if you're lucky. This especially sucked if you had to work a morning shift because that pretty much meant you had to sleep for 3 hours just to wake up and go right back to work. Can you say Twilight Zone much? Now, I'm putting the intro to The Sopranos here because quite frankly, I don't know what to edit into this part, but do you know what the worst thing about this job was? The side quest. Or, you know, stories if you're not a big nerd. Come here, guys and gals, because I got some stories to tell you. Multiple stories, actually. I don't have a chair to sit on, so I just gotta like pretend. Anyway, in no particular order, I'm just gonna 3-point some of the worst moments in parties that I worked that I remember that won't get me in illegal trouble because it would be a disservice not to fill you guys in. New Year's Eve 2018. Someone I worked with hooked up with another worker and was caught doing dastardly things in the bridal suite. That same person later got blackout drunk on the fake Hennessy that they keep in the building. He tried decking one of the managers, decided to leave, and was given his car keys by a different manager despite me trying to stop it. He then drove home, once again completely drunk, and returned the next day as if nothing happened. Yes, he kept his job. At one party, there was a fist fight going on in the parking lot in front of a rental donut truck because apparently the bride was cheating on her soon-to-be husband with the best man, which was only brought to light during the ceremony. I knew which one the bride was because she was wearing a very unique green dress, and also earlier I saw her, people from the ceremony, and 16-year-old workers bumping lines of coke off the bathroom sink. I don't know why coke was so prominent there. Also, I'm pretty sure a few people were arrested that night. From the fight, not the drugs. This, coincidentally, reminds me of a neat little show that I'd like to introduce you to called The Sopranos. Remember how I said that management was extremely cheap, so air conditioning was never an option? They made even more money from things such as wage theft. Employees were told by other employees to do the math on their time cards because at any given moment, a ton of money could be taken out of their paychecks. The management is lawyered up like OJ himself. So what they'll do is they'll give you back whatever money they owe you, fire you on the spot, and then forcefully silence you as if you're an American citizen that just found the cure for cancer. Dude, I was like 16 through all of this. But anyway, one day at work, this new manager comes in. No names, obviously, but he was intent on making a name for himself within the business. Yeah, okay, tough guy. He imposed a ton of changes, but one of the biggest ones was that we were now required to buy an actual suit from an actual tailor, and then pointed out my suit in particular as an example to the rest of the staff on what not to do. First of all, dude, what the f***? That's rude. And second of all, if you think I'm gonna go to Caraco Suits that's been going out of business since 2009 and buying a $300 outfit just to get it stained with curry and knockoff Hennessy, then I think you've been standing in the sewage puddle for too long, buddy. Needless to say, that obviously didn't work out. At that point, they hired a bunch of temporary workers from Brooklyn to replace the already existing workers that were looking for better working conditions and pretty much stopped scheduling the regulars altogether. It then pretty much snowballed with me and other employees needing to find a new job completely. Go figure. In closing though, while everything about this job was horrible and I was arguably at one of my lowest points mentally during this time, there is something that I learned from all this that I'm super grateful to share with you all. The food industry f***ing sucks.